welcome to Obtv, live from Old Bakery Studios here in Truro. On tonight's show, we have Winter Mountain, Haunt the Woods, and also Bailey Tomkinson here with her band. We're going to be having a panel discussion about the importance and value of live music. First up, we have Haunt the Woods with Elephant.
There's an elephant in the room and it feels like me, like the tide with the moon. My shores cannot be free, and if I was the sculptor, I'd sculpt you out of clay, and if I was the author, then I'd rewrite this play, go back to the beginning, so it didn't end like this. My God! My Wrap it up in plastic, tell yourself it still sings, secure it with elastic, tugging on your heartstrings. I don't know why I'm here, must be out of some kind of fear, or I would be long gone, yes I would be long gone. And if I was the sculptor, I'd sculpt you out of clay, and if I was the author, then I'd rewrite this play, go back to the beginning, so it didn't end like this. My God! One by one the moments come, they always lead to this. When everything is said and done, I'm just a catalyst, a glimpse for me of your eternity. My God!
Music to me is what I've always wanted to do since I can remember, and I know it means so much to all independent musicians and even people that are just starting out. If you can stream or just send them a message saying you like their song, or add it to a playlist, or just download it, or support them in any way you can, go see them at a gig, yeah, it always means the world.
So I'm now joined with Joe Francis from Winter Mountain. It's lovely to have him on the sofa. How are you?
Thank you. I'm really good, thank you.
What was it about music that made you want to start writing? I've read a bit that you started really young, so what was that spark?
When I was about 8 years old, my dad took me out for my birthday, and as we were driving away from the house, he pushed a cassette into the tape player, and it was the Beatles album Rubber Soul. And it just blew my mind. I'd never heard anything like it in my life, and it still gives me goosebumps when I think about it.
What's been one thing that's really stood out and just been like, especially looking back, because we've obviously 2020 was a bit of an upside down year, so looking back now, what's something that really stands out?
Going to Abbey Road Studios to make an album back with the band I was in as a teenager, that was pretty special. That was a really unique experience. And I was so lucky because we would go in, we'd arrive to Abbey Road in the morning, you do your first few hours of recording, and then everyone, it's called time for lunch, and you go and have your food down at the cafeteria. But I would always make an excuse and say, I'll join you guys in a sec, I've just got to get my bag or whatever. And when everyone had left the room, I would sit in the middle of Studio 2, the Beatles room, and just kind of look around and play a few notes on the piano and just soak it up, just marinate in that atmosphere for a while. That's pretty special.
But how have you managed to support yourself as a musician? You're a professional musician, you don't have another career. How's that been?
Well, it's tough to do that. You know, it's tough to be a musician, and I think that first of all, the pandemic caught everyone unawares, and there are plenty of other occupations that haven't been able to work as well. But I do think when you sign up to being an artist, it's part of the job that you take the highs and the lows as well, and just have to accept them and become adaptable. And musicians and creative people are always adapting and will always create, whether or not they have an industry behind them or not, because it's a very personal relationship that an artist has to their work. And if you can get your stuff out there directly to your audience, then that's kind of what it's about. And the machinations behind the scenes are of vital importance to make a life out of it, a lifestyle, but they're not of vital importance in terms of just making the art and presenting it.
Yeah.
But the two go hand in hand, I think. You've got to make a living at the end of the day if you want to do it.
Yeah, completely. Final question, because it kind of ties into this as well. What do you think is so important about going to gigs and that live feeling? Like, what for you as a musician does it kind of represent, being in a room with those fans and having that experience one-on-one that you can't achieve from live streaming?
Oh yeah, I mean, it is a completely different art form, performing live versus streaming. Yeah, it's crazy different. It couldn't be more different, because very often, despite the audience being on the receiving end of a live stream, I'm still performing to a phone and I can't see anyone, so it's so weird. Playing a live gig, it's completely the opposite. Hopefully you've got a room like this and it's packed out with hundreds of people and everyone's jumping up and down and sweating and bumping into each other and singing along with all your choruses and having a great time. And there's nothing that can replicate that, you know? So music really brings people together in a way that nothing else does, certainly not politicians and celebrities and stuff. You know, music and that shared experience is very unique.
So you're going to be playing for us your track, Girl in a Coffee House.
Yeah.
Tell me a bit about the track.
Well, I wrote it in Memphis. I'd gone out there to make a record at Sun Studios, which is where Johnny Cash and Elvis and all got their start. But when I arrived in Memphis, I realised that I didn't quite have the material. And I bought myself a writing pad and I went to a cafe, or a coffee house as they call them. And I stared at this blank page, desperately trying to think of a song whilst my coffee steamed beside me. And I look over to the next booth and there's a girl, she's sat there, she's very pretty, but she's crying. Went on over to the booth to see if I could help out in any way. And just as I reached the table and she looked up, this 7-foot shadow loomed over me. And it was her boyfriend. And he'd, you know, come to save the day. So I went back to my motel and picked up a guitar and I wrote the song for the girl in the coffee house.
That's lovely. That's a really nice story.
Yeah.
I hope she's okay.
Sure, she's good.
Girl in the coffee house, what are you sighing about in your cup? Must be more tears than tea. Girl in the coffee house, what are you sighing about? Oh, I love you like a movie that I never really seen. Did some less than brave upstarts turn around and break your heart? Why don't you point him out to me? Have promised you the moon, but honey, I would give to you the sunset and sunrise and everything in between. Oh, girl in the coffee house, what are you sighing about? Oh, I love you like a movie that I never really seen. Girl in the coffee house, what are you crying about? Come and lean your little head against me. Are you feeling so alone? Are you missing your folks back at home? Maybe I could keep you company. Oh, at least for a little while. And I could try to make you smile. And who knows, but you could be just the girl for me. Girl in the coffee house, what are you sighing about? Oh, I love you, kinda like a movie that I never really seen. Girl in the coffee house, what are you sighing about? Oh, come and lean your little head against me.
So music is my absolute life, and I know that is a thing that carries across to everyone that has ever played on Old Bakery TV. And the only way people like us ever get anywhere and, you know, get any kind of success from this thing is by everybody sharing our music, listening to our music, streaming our music, doing all of that stuff. And if you can do that, that would mean the world, because it's everything to us, and maybe one day it'll be everything to you.
I'm joined with Carlton Sandercock, who is head of Easy Action record label. Also Katie McConnell, who's head of support at Root Note, which is a local distribution company. And also Julian Abel, who is a band manager. So a whole plethora of different people working within music. Wanted to have a bit of a chat about how COVID has exposed streaming and the lack of money that's coming into artists through just streaming, but also the advantages of streaming and how it means that there's more exposure for artists.
I mean, I'm producing this show as well as being an artist manager, and I thought it was interesting. We've done this whole series with the support of the Arts Council to help the freelancers and people involved in music locally with the bands and stuff. And it's kind of like the elephant in the room, really, is the fact that, you know, the whole COVID situation has exposed the fact that working within music, if you're not able to play live at the moment, there is almost no income anywhere at all. I mean, people may not know, but I mean, for instance, you know, 1 million plays on Spotify sounds a lot, doesn't it? And you're probably doing quite well if you get that, is generating £220, I think it is, or something like that. Whereas vinyl, which Carlton specialises in, one album will generate more income than thousands and thousands of streams.
A lot of bands, as Julian has touched on, need that income, which has been taken away from them, because not only do they get the fees at the gigs, but they also sell merchandise, which is physical product. They can't sell a download at a gig. They need to sell singles, LPs, T-shirts, CDs. So without the gigs, that's all been removed. And the physical sales of their shop, of keeping them going, you know, paying for petrol to go on the road, you know, paying to get into the next studio to record the next record, it's all been taken away. So the fact that a lot of bands are relying on streaming and digital download is a double whammy, in as much as it's not supporting the artist, in my opinion. And this has been going on for quite some time and created a culture of almost, we want it for free or we want it for next to nothing.
It's when Napster started up, I think it was when that originally, you know, when people were questioning the value of music, and a lot of people were sort of saying it should be free because it's art or whatever, you know. And I was telling you earlier a story of when I was doing some work recently and a plumber was in the building and I was chatting to him, and he's a massive music fan. He knew I was working in music, and he's a massive music fan, and he's telling me he's got 20,000 tracks on his phone and how fantastic it is. And then he sort of winked at me and said, and I got them all from free from a pirate state place. And I just thought, you know.
Yeah, like you're part of the problem.
Yeah, we're working with managing bands. You know, what hasn't changed is that they still, as you say, you know, they still have to record. Quite a lot of them may have been to Falmouth University, where you went. They've spent 3 years, you know, training in their skills. They've spent a fortune on their education, and then when they're recording, you know, there's the cost of that. There's the cost of actually getting the stuff out there. Touring, as you say, I mean, most bands, I would have thought at the earlier levels, probably lose money. They're probably paying. They're paying to tour, and they're paying for people to listen to their music. Is the most bizarre business model.
So I say that we should not pay for plumbing. All you plumbers out there, free.
And we've been asking various musicians, you know, or various people, in fact, to you know, what music means to them, and of course, to just about everyone, it just means so much. You know, memories and good times and stuff like that.
It's passion, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. One of the reasons why we want to have this conversation is, you know, to just say to people, you know, when the COVID thing dies down and we're allowed to get people back into the venues, and so people come out, you know, and support the venues like this. You know, we've been able to hang on in there through doing Obtv. You know, support the bands. You know, support record labels, support record shops. You know, there's a few of them out there still.
And Truro really needed somewhere like this, I think, being the capital, and you know, so much from even just college, not necessarily even uni. Like the amount of bands that come out of there that have played here and just
when all this is over, people, come back.
Please.
We're here.
Takes much longer to go down. The motel sign across the road lights up this ghost town. And if I had your luck, I would have gone now. You let us say you've settled somewhere new. Girlfriend works a full-side job, your tender bed sleeps too. And if I had a love, I would be dreaming too. Oh, I am burning with desire. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. What's your life like, California? Outside of state, I heard the motorway is packed. You're living on the lake, and if I drank your love, life wouldn't be the same. Oh, I am burning with desire. Oh, I know. Oh, I know. What's your life like, California fire? Oh, I know. Oh, I know that I've missed my ride. The house will sleep tonight. Oh,
So I'm now joined with Jordan Collins, who is the founder of Panda Fest. How are you? It's nice
I'm
to have
good,
you on
thank you.
the sofa.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a bit about the festival? Why did you start it?
Panda Fest was just a little idea I had, really, to provide a platform for my friends' bands, really.
For you guys having Panda Fest, obviously last year it was cancelled because of COVID, so what are the kind of risks involved going forward into 2021?
So obviously we're very aware of the complication presented by COVID, and as with every year, there's of course health and safety needs to be the top of our list. And I think particularly in the current circumstances, we need to make sure all the boxes are ticked on that front. We've, sought outside consultation from, the correct authorities. We're in good contact with the council. And everything at the moment seems positive, if providing everything goes well with this roadmap.
Who are some of the highlights for you on the lineup this year?
For me, wow, it's so hard to pick. I mean, I grew up with Redley Fowdew from the Rezner, so I love seeing those guys play regularly. And then of course through those guys I met the Velvet Hands, who I'm super excited to see. Willie and the Bandits, Ferris and Sylvester. I actually saw those guys play down here, and part of the reason I wanted to book them actually.
Oh, amazing. So whereabouts can those watch it and get their tickets?
So tickets are available through pandafestofficial.co.uk. All the ticket links are on there. You can head to our Facebook page and that will take you directly there as well to our box office system.
I was going to say, when I looked through the lineup, it was kind of like Obtv, but in a field.
Yeah, I mean that's what's great, and it's funny, there seems to be all of my friends in a field, a party in a field with all of my friends, which for me sums up the ethos of what I want PandaFest to be, the best local talent.
Sky in the morning, it brings a new beginning, oh, a new clarity, oh, now I can see what the hell was I thinking, to risk losing it all. My stacks were low, and my stacks were low, and I know that the change has gotta come. Please, just keep holding on. Just keep holding on. So beautiful and free, burns this fire inside you and me. Think we should watch it just burn. Ooh, gonna watch it all burn. And I hear the strangest sound, and all these colors around, with just you beside me. Yeah, with just you beside me. And I know that the change has gotta come. My little darling, please, just keep holding on. And I know that the change has gotta come. My little darling, please, just keep holding on.
The value of music is so much more than thinking about money. It's so much more than thinking about how many streams an artist gets. It's so much more than thinking about how many likes they get on Facebook. It's actually about thinking really about the product that they've created, their heart, their soul, their time, their life has gone into creating that piece of music. Please, once all of this is over, once this pandemic is finished, once live music starts again, once you can go out and watch live gigs, please go and watch live events. Please support local communities, support bands. They need your help, they need your support, they need to be able to know that what they've been doing during this time, the music that they've been creating, the love they've poured into their lives, the love that they've poured into their music, they need to know that that time has been worthwhile. So please go out and support local venues, support local music, and continue to enjoy the incredible community that we have in music around the whole nation.
Last night I rolled dice with the Rolling Stones. The Beatles scratch, let it be, on my itching bones. Bowie and Springsteen ambushed and beat me. I've got the scars if you don't believe. I talked with Dylan and Cobain, Buckley and Joplin. They taught me of their pain, and I drove them to the edge. I sang soul with Jamelia and the Staple Singers. I'm on to a winner, cause those angels love sinners. I'll never lose my way if I've got rock and roll to guide me. I'm never gonna back down, baby, if I've got blues and soul inside of me. John Bonham in my head, and Sting doing his thing with the Grateful Dead. Neil Young played acoustic, Sly and Robbie grooved it. The band were removed cause they all had stage fright. Spark with Tom Waits and Johnny Cash. The Foo Fighters fought back, stepped into their line of fire. Tom Petty sang blues cause American girls love the echoes and buzz of an era that never was. I'll never lose my way if I've got rock and roll to guide me. I'm never gonna back down, baby, if I've got blues and soul inside of me. Never gonna back down, baby, if I got rock and roll to guide me. Never gonna back down, baby, if I've got blues and soul inside of me.
I know we touched upon earlier how streaming and how Rootnote are really trying to like level the playing field and incorporate lots of different things in the company, like the blog and also the sessions. Talk a bit about that and how actually, as a company, there's more than just streaming, and they're trying to open the model up a little bit.
I mean,
streaming isn't necessarily all bad, to be honest. Like, we were talking earlier about piracy, like, at least it's prevented that side of things, because if people do want stuff for free, if they're going to do it anyway, at least you're getting a little bit of income. You can make money on it. I think it's just a different process. Like, you need your social media presence to be up there all the time. You need to be constantly uploading content. And I think although the stream rate is incredibly low, especially in some stores more than others, which I do think is improving the more that people have like premium Spotify accounts and stuff like that, like, because they're putting more money into these stores, they're able to pay more to the artists. As you mentioned, we've got new marketing, like our marketing team is expanding. We're doing a blog, which is updated pretty much daily at this point. We're doing root note sessions, even going to gigs as root note and like doing reviews of those gigs and trying to get the local music scene heard more, because we're Europe's biggest distributor at the moment, online, digital. So, you know, our local bands are being exposed to basically the world. We've got, you know, worldwide customers, so we're trying to do our bit.
I think it's a hard point at the moment though, because if you're an undiscovered artist and you are on such a small level, you need to start somewhere, and if the world is digital and the world is streaming, you've kind of got to be on the streaming site, or you're not going to be found by
There's
an
no
artist.
downside.
Yeah,
like,
because you can, even though you've got to pay obviously in the way you're recording, unless you're doing everything yourself, but there has to be a way of discovering, and if that at the moment is through YouTube and Spotify and through streaming effectively, there has to be a starting point, and then eventually things can go to vinyl and then the merch. But in the world that is digital, we've got to see things in a digital way.
That's how I find most of my music, but I always make sure I support, like, I subscribe so that I can see when they're next playing in my, well, nearest area.
As long as if you're finding people through streaming sites, but then you're taking it a step further and actually following them online and keeping up to date and buying their merch and buying their vinyl. So it ends up being a physical product, but at the moment I think it has to kind of start online, because that's the field that we're playing in.
Record store day is something that has come along in the last 10 years or so, and has pushed a lot of labels into creating product specifically for bricks and mortar record shops, which are few and far between now. There are lots of small labels and bands pressing up coloured vinyl, 7-inch singles or LPs or what have you, in limited form, and people can go to these shops. I mean, we have one in Truro.
It's a good shop,
you know, and you know, you can support those bands and small labels through that record shop.
I think ultimately it is down to the public, and I'm hoping from what we've done at Obtv and what we've discussed here that, you know, the sense of the value of music, what it means to people, you know. That kind of special feeling you get when you're in here, when it's rammed out, going bonkers, you know, it's just like, it's fantastic. You don't really get that anywhere else.
Turntable wishes Billy Joel, but he had no scratches. You dropped my head, it'd be a lie if you hadn't. So jealous of the girl that took your innocence from me. You claim she'd borrow your heart. To me she's just a thief. Both love New York. That's why we never left. You caught a
So I'm now joined with John and Ollie from Haunt the Woods. It's lovely to have you guys on the sofa. Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having us. Yeah. No.
Who influences you guys' writing and production, particularly with your live stuff? What influences that?
Well, I'd say myself got like Muse, I suppose, is relevant. Like, only heard Muse in the last couple of years. Radiohead too. So I'd heard of like High and Dry, and like Creep and that kind of thing, and thought, what is this? And went home and listened to like every album they'd ever made. And
was that when you found them?
Yeah, Glasgow. Oh, wow. Yeah, first time I'd ever properly listened to them.
Nice.
And it was like they were doing all their like newer stuff, which was real spacey, but I've loved it. All of us though, the one thing that definitely resonates with all of us is we're very much album people. So I mean, we live in a day and age where music is consumed like a pot of potato salad or something, you know. That's how I feel about it.
We were discussing this earlier as well, actually.
Yeah.
Potato salad.
Not potato salad, the consumption of music.
Yeah. It's just like, it feels a bit more like it's a product, but for us it's like, we write music because we're compelled to. So that's our main influence.
I always think it's interesting how like we spend a fair amount of time when we're making the album thinking of like the track, how it's gonna kind of go and like the journey between each track.
Yeah.
And then like the majority of people are just gonna stick it on shuffle. Anyway.
For us, streaming, as useful, as like good as it is for the consumer, it's really like, is a bit sad.
Yeah, it means that an album and like a vinyl can bring all those ideas to life in a physical product.
Yeah, and you can't just skip on a vinyl, not very easily. So that is how we'd like people to listen to our music for the first time. Pop the vinyl on.
It's kind of like this time. I mean, in the time that we've spent in the studio already, we've pulled up Spotify a few times and like had to think how it would look if we released it in certain ways, and like that's definitely a big factor now.
Yeah.
So you guys have been recording the second album, as you touched on. Have you got any other plans for 2021?
We've got gigs, a tour in October.
We're touring, yeah.
You guys are playing here, I think, 15th of October.
Yeah.
Little plug. Get your tickets now.
Yeah, which is wicked. I'm looking forward to playing here then.
For you guys then, growing up in like Plymouth and Cornwall, how do you feel like being in the Southwest has affected your music? But also, have you ever felt like you need to move away and move up to London like so many other bands, or do you think staying here makes you guys unique?
Yeah, I think like, I mean, I love Cornwall so much. It's such a good area, and that's why like everyone from London ends up moving down here eventually.
Yeah.
I mean, there's great opportunities in London for us, but it's worth making the mission every time we need to like live down here, I think.
I don't feel there's any need at all for us to go and live in a. I don't think it's where you are. It's what you're doing. It's who you're doing it with. You know, like For me, I feel every time I've been to London, it's completely saturated with human beings, and I just couldn't deal with that. Like, you know, I have absolutely no desire to ever live in London in my life, and if I lived again, even then. Yeah, and we're not chasing anything. Like, I mean, I do feel music sometimes. I feel quite disconnected. I don't engage with social media too much, but I feel like music is like, in this age, is what people are putting across, and like it almost feels like this competitive thing when it's not. It's just art. And for me, I think maybe people move to London with ideas that they're going to achieve something, and for us, we're not chasing anything. All we're chasing is the next day that we get to do this.
So you're going to be playing for us your track Twisted. Can you tell us a bit about the track?
It's fun to play live. It's loud, but also quiet, which is like our favourite kind of thing.
It's all about the journey.
It's all about the journey, man. It's got some raging guitars in. It's off our first EP, The Line, and it's about like absolute self-loathing, but kind of, you know, everyone feels like that sometimes.
Don't get them started.
We won't go.
This is my body and these This is my home. While you can run, I am the host. It's dark in here, so don't come too close. Pull me under, hold me down. Everything must come back round. Like every truth and every lie. All that lives must surely die. Old houses haunted, demons in the sky. Wretched and twisted, where do I begin? I'm uninviting, full of limitless flaws. So lock yourself in and close all the doors. Pull me under, hold me down. Everything must come back round. So pull me under, hold me down. Don't you let me take this Am I careless and young? A fragile mind will turn love wrong. Was it something I said, or is tragedy just going to my head?
Thank you so much for joining us on this season of Obtv. As always, if you can follow us on social media, you'll be seeing which gigs are coming up. We look forward to seeing you guys really soon here at the Old Bakery.